The 2021 Los Angeles Rams are one of the most stacked teams we have ever seen in NFL history. And no, they weren't built overnight. They were a carefully crafted roster built by one mastermind in Sean McVay. Back in 2016, the Los Angeles Rams selected Jared Goff with their first overall pick, and it would only take 3 seasons for him to reach the Super Bowl with this team. But shortly after that, the Rams trade Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions for a proven veteran quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who never won anything in Detroit, but always put up big numbers with big talent, but showed that he had a lot more talent than Jared Goff. So the Rams took a swing and traded for the veteran QB. Matthew Stafford was the big splash, but nobody talks about the two-headed running back monsters that they had in Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel. Sure, you may have just rolled your eyes at those names, but in that season, those two guys were unstoppable from inside the 10-yard line. No one could bring them down. Darrell Henderson's ability to bounce off tackles and Sony Michel's winning mindset, where he just came off of a Super Bowl win with the New England Patriots, where he was a major catalyst in winning the Super Bowl, was crucial for this amazing Rams team. They combined for over 1,000 yards and got plenty of touchdowns as needed. It may have taken the acquisition of Matthew Stafford to fully unlock Cooper Kupp, but they drafted Cooper Kupp back in 2017, I believe, as a third-round pick, where he gradually improved, but then once he got Matthew Stafford, we saw him explode into a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, at least for that season. He was a crucial aspect to that Super Bowl winning team for the Los Angeles Rams, and he cannot be forgotten when talking about Rams history. The most impressive part of this entire rebuild is the players that they were able to hit on in free agency. One of those including a disgruntled Odell Beckham Jr., who we all know for the famous one-handed catch, but we also know him for his antics, both with the New York Giants and the Cleveland Browns. All of that got thrown to the side when he signed with the Los Angeles Rams and played for Sean McVay. Odell Beckham Jr. lowered his temper, accepted his role with the team, and he flourished in it, still producing big plays, yards, and touchdowns, and in the biggest moments, specifically in the playoffs and Super Bowl, before injuring himself. However, the acquisition of Odell Beckham Jr. was not the only one they had in free agency, where they also signed Hall of Famer Von Miller, or they may have traded for him. Also, Jalen Ramsey. You got Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey to add onto a defense that already had another Hall of Famer in Aaron Donald, maybe the greatest defender we have ever seen. We're talking about 3 of arguably the greatest defenders we have ever seen on one defense. How did they do this? The Rams built this team through sending out their future draft picks for one Super Bowl. They went all in, and like I just said, they acquired Von Miller, they acquired Matthew Stafford. Yeah, they gave up multiple firsts to the Lions for Matthew Stafford, and then they had no problem giving up a second and a third round pick to the Denver Broncos for Von Miller. They're throwing their future away to go all in on this one season. Taking a look back at the Rams playoff run, they began with the Arizona Cardinals, who were their division rival and, were flourishing actually under Cliff Kingsbury and maybe Kyler Murray's best season yet. And the Rams absolutely dominated them. Matthew Stafford was very accurate on the day. Odell Beckham Jr. making explosive plays as per usual, and the defense holding up. Of course, they had to move on and play Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just won the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, against the best quarterback in the NFL at that point, Patrick Mahomes. And the Rams once again beat Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. The final score may indicate that it was a closer game than it actually was. The Buccaneers started coming back later, but the Rams handled business. Matthew Stafford defeating the all-time greatest NFL player is not a thing that we can overlook. Matthew Stafford and the Rams beat Tom Brady in a Buccaneers team that was still loaded with talent, and then they moved on to the NFC Championship. The NFC Championship was a battle. It was tied 17-17 halfway through the fourth quarter, and Matthew Stafford had to attempt 45 passes to get a victory, just a 20-17 victory, a very low scoring game for that many pass attempts, but Odell Beckham Jr. and Cooper Kupp both had over 100 yards. They were making massive plays the whole game, but it was really the defense that shined, picking off Jimmy Garoppolo near the end of the game to finish off the 49ers and capitalize, making it to the Super Bowl for the second time in about 3 seasons. And then, of course, there was the Super Bowl against the Cincinnati Bengals, the young guns, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins versus veteran Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, OBJ. It was a battle, and it was one of the best Super Bowls we've seen in the last 10 years, but it was really the Cooper Kupp and Rams defense show. Cooper Kupp dominated the Bengals defense, and Eli Apple stood no chance, but that Rams defense generated 7 sacks, led by Aaron Donald and Von Miller. Joe Burrow couldn't really do anything as far as holding on to the ball for more than 2 seconds because that Rams defense was too good. But the Rams deserved this Super Bowl win. They made calculated risks in the offseason to make their team better. The defense stood out. The offense was amazing. All the acquisitions they made appeared to be worth it. And since then, NFL teams have not tried to follow this model. Teams are not sending multiple firsts for an older quarterback that's proven. They really are building through the drafts. And I'm wondering why that is, because we saw the Rams do this and it worked. Obviously, it generated 1 Super Bowl win, but they are still contending to this day. The 2020 Buccaneers were another team that went all in. I don't know why more teams don't follow this formula. I hope that maybe they start considering it, but it was a special season. It was a legendary season. This team was one of the greatest ones I have ever seen on a field. And, it was just a special year. I think this goes to show just how impactful a coaching tree can be. Sean McVay was at the helm as the head coach. We all know that he's an excellent head coach, but people often forget that the offensive coordinator for this team was Kevin O'Connell, who we all know to be a top 10 head coach in the league, if not top 5, one of the brightest minds in the NFL alongside Sean McVay, but also the defensive coordinator for that team was Raheem Morris, the new head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. So it goes to show that free agency, drafting, spending big, taking risks, and having a good coaching tree obviously can set you up for success. Going all in on one season may not be everything. Because of the coaches that they had, they could have had a bigger impact than we will ever know. However, more teams should do it. I don't care. New England Patriots, go get Tyreek Hill. Let's win a Super Bowl this year. If you enjoyed this kind of video of me breaking down a team, let me know in the comments below what team you want to see next. And until next time, y'all, peace out.